This is Greg Gilbert, host of Python's Paradise, and I am also a co producer on 13 Fanboy and Victim No More. Yes, look for it. And go promote a little medallion here made by, company and Nancy McLaughlin. And I'm wearing my Friday the 13th, the final chapter shirt, just to highlight the video for today. Okay, I got the old box set. Right here, Friday the 13th box set. Yes, this was a great purchase. But so many people on YouTube doing ranking videos, and a lot of them are going to be a lot better produced than mine. I'm just sitting here in front of my phone, but I thought I'd do one anyway, and this is how I feel about it. I'm not Never Hike Alone will not be mentioned here. I do have it here on Blu-ray. It would be ranked near the top if I did it, but I'm going with the 12 films in the box set, going from least favorite to favorite. I'm going to do a few things here, not just list them. I'm going to mention my favorite kill from each film and my favorite female. Why favorite female? Because Jason just keeps getting uglier, and watching these films growing up, there was always at least one female in each one that caught my eye, and, well, the casting director did a good job at casting some beautiful women in these films. So, anyway, we're going to start with number 12. My least favorite film, and this was the one that was the hardest to get through. Jason X. To quote Dave McRae of Dave McRae Relive out of Toronto, this is a fucking shit show. I mean, happy to have it with the rest of the group. I saw this in the theater, and the moment even Uber Jason appears on screen, the audience started laughing. I don't know. There was a comment made by Sean S. Cunningham on one of the extras disc with the set, and he said that, I guess I'm not going to get this exact quote, but he said that Noel Cunningham, his son, had said all you have to do is cast people you don't like, and like characters you don't like, and have Jason kill them. And I'm like, that goes against caring about the characters. You got to remember Jason's a murderer here, but it kind of makes sense because Noel Cunningham has his name on this, and it might explain why I didn't give a shit about the characters. Even Rowan, the final girl, who does a great job at freezing Jason at the beginning, does next to fuck all in the rest of it. You get a group of people that survive in the end of it. Like, I like a final girl, because isolation and the feeling of aloneness actually works better in a horror movie. It's proven fact. But I think Jason X is horrible. It's the worst of the franchise. Are there things I like? Well, my favorite kill is, of course, the face smashing scene once she gets her face frozen, and then Jason smashes it on that countertop. I think that's pretty much everybody's favorite kill scene in not just this film, but maybe even the franchise. But that's a great kill scene. Other things, like, there's little bits of humor I got to chuckle at, like when the guy's killed on the screw and he's going around in a circle, and one of the women says he's screwed. I loved the appearance of David Cronenberg, who was far more talented than this shit. Kane Hodder appears to be having fun as Jason. And the guy who gets stabbed through the door there, and he says it's going to take a lot more to take down this old dog, and then another stab comes through, and he goes, that ought to do it. I got a little chuckle out of that. But all in all, I got to agree with the one of the quotes in the movie. This sucks in so many ways. I mentioned my favorite kill, favorite female. I like Lisa Ryder. She was the android in it, or I wish she was the final girl. Imagine a one-on-one without all the rest of the nonsense between her and Jason. I would have gone for that. Speaking of which, there she is, Lisa Ryder. She blows Jason away, and I just love her facial reaction when she does it. I liked her in the movie. It's probably my only thing that keeps me going through it. But this is number 12. This is the worst one. Next up. Next up, I'm going to get debated on a lot by a lot of people, but hear me out. Friday the 13th, Part 7, The New Blood. I saw this in the theater back in 1988. Guy dressed as Jason with a machete and a hockey mask ripping the tickets. Excuse me. I've only interviewed one person from this movie, Lar Park Lincoln, and I don't know, the characters are pretty utterly forgettable. There's a lot of things in this movie I really hated. I did like some of the atmosphere in it. I love the look of Jason. I think John Carroll Beekler's makeup effects in it with Jason's exposed spine and whatnot. I like that. I think Jason looked great in it, and but I think that so much was wrong with this movie. The biggest thing, actually, there are two major things I hated in this movie. One, hated the ending with Zombie Dad. Telekinesis Tina as a young girl accidentally collapses Doc, drowning her father. And she ends up resurrecting him up there at the end to take Jason beneath the water. And whoever from the studio didn't like it when they had a more zombified dad come out of the water, that person should be fired. Because this guy just looks like he came out and had a little bit of mud on his face. It was just shit. And so that ending was horrible. Had it been up to me, I would have ended the film whenever the house blew up and collapsed on Jason. That's where I would have ended it. Once they're taken out on the ambulance, I would have panned back to the area and would have had Jason's hand burst out through a piece of the cabin roof. That's what I would have done. That would have opened it up, and it would have made a lot more sense than the shit we got. Another major issue I have with this is the character of Nick, who's the only existent in this movie is to be a romantic lead for Tina and to piss me off. Think about this. In Friday the 13th, Part 6, Jason Lives, Tommy Jarvis's friend Haas gets a fist rammed through him when Jason's holding his heart out through the back of him. This movie contains one of the, I have to say, the worst scene in any of these movies. And I hate this so much because it was so out of character for Jason. There comes a point where Nick is firing a gun at Jason. Jason swats a gun out of his hand, which, okay. And then he pushes him into a canoe. Are you fucking with me? Really? What happened? Gee, Haas could have been so lucky. Like, why were they keeping this dipshit alive? And nothing against Kevin Blair, who played him. I got nothing against him. But twice this asshole got knocked out, and Tina saved his ass. Remember I talked about Final Girl? Alice was completely isolated by herself. Ginny, until towards the end, was isolated by herself. Chris Higgins, until towards the end of the last moments with Jason, she was isolated by herself. Tina had telekinesis. Why does she need Nick? It would have been great to have one-on-one between the two. So I have a hard time watching this movie because they got this dipshit in there that don't belong, as far as I'm concerned. Favorite kill? A lot of people like the Dr. Cruz kill, but I really like the Susan Jennifer Sullivan Melissa kill, where she gets the hatchet in the head and he chucks her battle royal style over the television set. You know, I enjoyed that. My favorite female in the film, of course, is Lar Park Lincoln, who I always thought was cute, and And I liked her in this, but I just wish it was more one on one between her and Jason. So that's number 11. Number 10, Friday the 13th Party, Jason Takes Manhattan. I know a lot of people will probably be angry because I put it up this high, and I can see their point. I gotta tell you one thing I really loved in this movie, and that is Peter Mark Richmond, who played Professor Charles McCullough. He had a career that spanned back to the 50s. You know, he worked with Gary Cooper, Sophia Loren. I've interviewed him twice. He is a wonderful guy. I know he plays a grouch in this film. He's the guy everybody can't wait to see get killed off. But I gotta say, he's far more classier than this project. And he spoke well of being part of the film and spoke well of Kane Hodder and company. And I loved every scene he's in, whether he's with Jensen Daggett, aka Renee, whether he's dealing with the biology project, or even hunting the drunken deckhand with the flare gun. I like every scene he's in because he allows me to remove myself somewhat from the shenanigans. So I really liked Peter Mark Richmond in this film. I've interviewed Tiffany Paulson and Michael Beignet both in this as well. But the fault of this movie is Paramount Pictures. They didn't give Rob Hedden, the director, the budget he needed to make the movie that fans deserved. We should have had Jason in Manhattan. Not Jason on a boat, not Jason in Vancouver in the back alleys, Jason in Manhattan. I got no problem with the boat aspect, but limit it. I think what Rob Hedden wanted to do was so promising, and then studios fucked it up. So, and I also hated the ending of this movie. I believe that Renee, whatever they call her, she was traumatized by the stories that her uncle told her, and I don't think Jason ever tried to pull her under the water because it would have made no sense for her age, with Jason drowning in 1957. I believe she traumatized and is seeing visions, even at the end, which I don't know what the fuck that was with the Jason turning into a kid. Don't get me started on the kid having hair, where that come from. But but I believe it all was in her imagination. She was seeing this, and that's the only way you can really explain it, you know? Um, my favorite kill, of course, is the one that everybody likes in the movie. VC Dupree, Julius boxing Jason on the top of the building, and he says, after so long, he says, "Give me your best shot." And Jason punches his head off his shoulders, and it rolls down into a dumpster down below. That was my favorite kill. My favorite female is Charlene Martin, who presents herself to Charles McCullough with the biology project all done up on herself. I gotta say, I thought that was pretty funny. She was nice looking, but was killed off too soon. But I gotta say, I got a kick out of her. Number 9, the one I've interviewed the most people from, Friday the 13th, Part 5, A New Beginning. I've interviewed Ron Sloan, I've interviewed Corey Parker, I've interviewed Bob DeSimone, I've interviewed Melanie Kinnaman twice, Tiffany Helm, and Debbie Sue Voorhees 4 times, who of course is the director of 13 Fanboy, which I'm a co-producer on. There's a lot of problems with this movie. First off, I hated the whole Roy Burns angle. I think they should have went with Tommy Jarvis being the killer. He can talk, he can think, he can make those masks. I think they could have almost made kind of a guy with the intelligence of a Hannibal Lecter out of him had they wanted to do it and still make it work for the audience. But instead, they went the Roy Burns route, which to me didn't work. And of course, if they went that route, we wouldn't have got Jason Lives, which will be higher on this list. But I had a big problem with the Roy Burns thing. Not only that, They try to make everybody think that Tommy's the killer. Are you fucking kidding me? That all they needed was the first small reaction shot of a Roy Burns when he sees his son hacked up. And that's it. Having this close up of him, these constant close ups, or him and talking to the sheriff, you talking to me, sheriff? They might as well put a flash of words on the screen saying Roy's the killer. Because, when he is revealed at the end, who fucking cares? I didn't like that subplot. I would have made Tommy the killer. I would have really done something with that. And I would have Vic, who funny gets away in this whole movie, just arrested. Wow, the one guy killed his son, doesn't get killed. I would have had him make an attempt on Tommy at some point with his anger, and Tommy end up killing him, and it goes from there. I would have done something like that. There was some major editing problems with this movie. I like Melanie Kinnaman, but there's a scene, I've talked to her about this. Her pink sweater disappearing and reappearing sweater is the least of my concerns here. But her running and slipping in the mud, and then you got him walking, walking after her, scrambling, back and forth, back and forth. He puts his foot down on her, raises the machete, her screaming face, him raising the machete, her screaming face, him raising the machete, then Reggie the Reckless burst out with the bulldozer. I'm sorry, but when it takes me less time to go microwave something for 10 minutes than it takes for Reggie to come out through that door, there's a problem. All you needed to do, have him stick his foot down on her screaming, him raising the machete, bulldozer comes out. That's what you do. Danny Steinman the director, seemed more interested to me in sleaze and porn than actually making a quality film. Another problem I had, you got Reggie going into this room and flash of lightning. He sees these bodies. Okay, fine. Then Pam goes in there and it flashes again. How convenient. What if it didn't flash? Those were problems I had, but there were things I liked. There was a lot of characters I liked. Ethel Jr. I love Violet and her dance, his eyes. I love that. The demon sequence. My favorite kill was this one right here with Robert John Dixon, with the thing across his eyes. My favorite female is the absolutely gorgeous Melanie Kinnaman as Pam Roberts. She's a sight. I like her. Next up. Number 8 is Freddy vs. Jason. Major issues with this film. Number 1, Ronnie Yu was the wrong guy to direct this film. He watched the first Nightmare on Elm Street and the first Friday the 13th. And Jason being afraid of water contradicts parts 4 and 6 and 7 and 8. Ronnie Yu got nothing out of watching the original film. Nothing. He might as well have watched an episode of My Little Fucking Pony for all the good he did. Paramount got him to direct because of Bride of Chucky. Seriously? They need to get somebody like Vincent DeSante of the Never Hike Alone series. Somebody actually gives a shit about the material. That was a big problem I had with this movie. Another big problem was not bringing back Kane Hodder. People wanted Kane Hodder as Jason versus Robert Englund as Freddy. So that was a big slap in the face to Kane Hodder as far as I'm concerned. So Ronnie Yu was not the guy who should have been behind the camera directing this thing. Favorite kill? My favorite kill is the bed kill, where Jason stabs the guy and folds the bed in half. Favorite female? Catherine Isabel of Ginger Snaps. She classes us up. I got to admit, too, I liked seeing Zach Ward. My favorite scene in the movie, Zach Ward in the bloody bathtub in that dream sequence. It was nice to see him. Next up, number 7. Jason Goes to Hell, the final Friday. This is a film so many people hate, so many people have this on their worst. Not me. I'm right now an associate producer on Hearts of Darkness, the making of the final Friday. And I'll tell you this, Adam's going to answer a lot of questions in that documentary. Not everything in this movie I like. Wasn't a big fan of the shaving sequence. Wasn't a big fan of Jason having to talk in part of it. And the body swapping didn't bother me so much. Adam Marcus was trying for something different. And there's stuff I liked. I loved the opening footage of him being blown up. I loved Creighton Duke. I liked Stephen Freeman, played by John D. LeMay. And of course, the Freddy Jason tie-in at the end of it, that where it's hinted at, doesn't come out till 10 years later. Stuff like that I liked. And I love the connection where Adam bridges in The Evil Dead and Creepshow into this as well, you know. I wasn't a big fan of Jessica Kimball as a final girl. I found her to be kind of a bitch, you know. I gotta say, my favorite female in the film was Allison Smith, and I love that slow motion shot with her with the shotgun. You know, I would have liked to have seen her be the final girl. Wasn't a big fan of only a Voorhees can kill him. That was kind of bullshit. But my favorite kill was the tent spike scene where the woman gets split in half up through. Gory. Now, next up, number 6. Yes, you're probably wondering why I got the reboot in the top half of this. I have a good idea. How about looking at the reboot as a sequel? I wish Paramount would make a part 9 and a part 10. Why stop at 8? Because Jason Goes to Hell and Jason X can kind of stand on their own anyway. I would go with that idea. Because when you stop and think about it, Shelley's mask went from part 3 to being split in half in part 7. And then the part 8 mask is in the sewer. What would Jason go to? He'd go back to Sackhead. Look at the beginning of this film as a flashback. And kind of look at it as updated. Jason's back to Sackhead. Because when he kills the hillbilly guy and then finds that mask, I kind of looks to me like he recognizes it and he puts it on. If you look at it that way, you might be able to enjoy it better. I did like the tunnels and stuff, you know. It was interesting. Takes him back to trapping like he did in part 2. I got to go with, for favorite kill, there is a variety of them, but I got to say my favorite was when he was Derek Mears, great Jason, going as Sackhead and just coming at this guy and splitting that machete up through his right down through his head. Reminded me a lot of Ted White. My favorite female was Danielle Panabaker. Went on to do the Flash series. Wish she survived. Number 5. Friday the 13th, Part 3. I enjoy this film, but I have one major riff with it. Wrong final girl. Rick should have spent the weekend with Mary Jo Conrad, as opposed to dying, staying with Chris Higgins. Because Chris Higgins I didn't find very likable. I did like Dana Kimmel. She put up a good fight against Jason. But I gotta say, and this ties into my favorite female of this movie, which is Tracy Savage as Debbie. I have a big crush on her. I've had her on the show twice. And we've had a chuckle over one big thing, which is an issue I had with the movie. She's written as pregnant. She's written as pregnant, and yet the screenwriter forgets about it. Number 1, you know, I can relate to Shelley, because I didn't relate well to women growing up. But when you get a woman like Vera whose response to you is, "You're Shelley," do you really want to spend the weekend with that? Debbie was the one character who didn't shit all over Shelley. She had such a cool demeanor. Plus, she was pregnant. Imagine a pregnant final girl. That would up the intensity of this movie. And I kind of wouldn't have minded seeing Debbie be the final girl. That was a big problem I had with this. But favorite kill, a lot of people like the upside down handstand one, which is a great one, but I always like the squeezed head and the eyeball popping out. I thought that was pretty funny. All in all, entertaining. Number four, the original. I don't care how many people talk about Kevin Bacon in this movie. He had kind of a flat part. In fact, a lot of the characters are pretty flat. I love the reveal of Mrs. Voorhees. Betsy Palmer was great in this movie. I love the jump scare at the end, but I have a major, major issue with the fact that they killed a real snake in this movie. I just watched I Drink Your Blood, which came out 10 years, 9 or 10 years before Friday the 13th. And they had rats being killed in it. The thing is, no real rats were killed because they had a rat trainer on set. I found interesting that they were able to make a film that was equally as low budget as this and avoid killing an animal. Whose idea was it to kill the snake? Sean S. Cunningham? Is he at fault? So I had a major problem with that element of the movie. It's cannibal Holocaust territory. I will say Adrienne King was my favorite female in the film. I think she was beautiful. I always liked Adrienne. And I like the fact that you can't really predict her as a final girl throughout this, so I did like that element. Favorite kill, I gotta say, I like the Marcy kill with the hatchet in the washroom. That was pretty good. Number three, Friday the 13th, Part 2. The first one I saw, I gotta say, I liked Sackhead Jason. I love the jump scare at the end with Jason with half the hair on his head. I gotta say, it's basically the same movie, just different killer. But I am gonna say I like the music score to this best of the series. I really like my favorite kill is the double impalement scene in the bed. That was killer, and that was nearly hit this film with an X rating. My favorite female, Jenny. Yes, Jenny Fields, played by Amy Steele. She's my favorite final girl of the franchise. She was smart, and Amy Steele was easy on the eyes. But I gotta say, my big story, Kirsten Baker, who played Terry, became the first female I ever seen naked when I saw this movie as a young teen. So that's number three for me. Number 2 and 1 are a toss-up for me, but I'm going to say number 2 is the final chapter. I think this is the scariest one of the franchise. Ted White is my favorite actor to don the Jason mask. I love the fact he was able to run. One of my probably my favorite scene in the entire franchise is where Trish has to jump out of a window to avoid being killed by him and risk being killed when she lands because she has to protect her brother, little brother Tommy, who himself is pretty resourceful, as we come to find out. I love the characters in this. Crispin Glover doing his dance, was crazy. The characters had a John Hughes quality to them, and I think it made them super relatable. My favorite kill is the Crispin Glover corkscrew in the hand, cleaver to the face kill. Although the hacksaw to the throat was very close second. My favorite female, you could pick any one of these women. They're all gorgeous, but my favorite, Trish Jarvis, played by Kimberly Beck. I love the battle damage she did to Jason in this film. I think she was a super final girl. I think this is the scariest one and pretty much the essential slasher film. Great film. And my number 1. There's a big reason why Jason Lives is my number 1. I saw this in Toronto at a midnight screening. And this is the one you want to see with an audience. You got the Alice Cooper music going on in it, which really turns this into an event film like none other in the franchise. Um, I love Tom McLaughlin's directing, the tongue-in-cheek humor, the references to old horror films like Frankenstein and whatnot. Tommy Jarvis, played by Tom Matthews, was great. Jennifer Cook as Megan. You get a car chase in this. That was you never had that in the series before, and I love that. Car chase, and you get a big cop shootout at the end. And I also love the fact that this girl is advised to say a little prayer to make the ghost go away or the monster go away. And as Jason getting close, she says a prayer. When she opens her eyes, Jason's gone because he heard the cops arrive. But I love that. Jesus lives. I love that. And Nancy McLaughlin had told me when I interviewed her, she said that the little girl's name was Nancy after her. So I love that. My favorite kill, there's a lot of great kills in this movie, but I gotta say the Darcy DeMoss, where she gets her face slammed into the side of the RV and her face and print goes through it, I enjoyed that a lot. My favorite female, I have a soft spot for Nancy McLaughlin, who played Lisbeth, but I gotta say my favorite female's always been Paula, played by Carrie Noonan. She was nice. She was a good girl. She followed all the rules, and she still had her insides turned into wallpaper in one of those cabins. I felt bad to see her go, but I gotta say, this here is the most like an event film out of the entire franchise, and there's so much funny moments in this film. In fact, I interviewed Victor Miller, and he was challenged, who was the screenwriter of the original. He was challenged to watch one of the other films, and I think he ended up watching the reboot. And he likes comedies. I would have told him to watch this one because I think he would have gotten a laugh out of it. Plus, this movie never insults the subject matter. So this is my number one pick. This and the final chapter, I think, are the best two of the franchise. So that is my ranking. So, folks, so many people have done these ranking videos. I'm kind of doing these while I'm waiting for to get my podcast up and going again, but these have been kind of fun. So I am going to sign out here, and I'm going to leave you with my Nancy McLaughlin Jason mask medallion here. Because, I appreciate this. Catch up with Nancy McLaughlin and order one of these babies for yourself. This is great. Who's the man behind the mask? Alice Cooper, baby Ted White. Happy Friday the 13th.